It's been more than a year and a half since a West Toledo woman went missing on a cruise ship in the Gulf of Mexico. Jonathan Walsh has been working on the wild twists and turns of Tammy Grogan's disappearance. And Jonathan, investigators and family members stepped forward trying to get some progress in this case.
Since that September of 2006 cruise, there have been no new leads, no answers, but plenty of questions, disturbing questions that even surround Tammy's own family. Now, for the very first time, investigators and family members are talking publicly about the case and talking only to News 11. 35-year-old Tammy Grogan.
She just enjoyed life.
Tammy's mother, Bonnie Grogan, sat in a hospital bed, Bonnie not in good health, describing her daughter as a strong woman, a single mother of a teenage son, Jimmy Fleshman.
I would have trusted my life with Jimmy then. I can't say that anymore.
The then reference points to a time before Jimmy met a man from West Toledo, 25-year-old Craig Morgan. Bonnie says Craig met Jimmy through Bonnie's sister, Deb Graff. She tells us Deb used to babysit Craig and Craig's sister, Rebecca Morgan. Bonnie tells News 11 the 14-year-old Jimmy started spending a lot of time with the 25-year-old Craig. Bonnie and Lucas County investigator Tom Ross say Craig would spend plenty of money on Jimmy.
Limo rides to restaurants, to malls, shopping sprees, things of that nature.
He had, I think, 23 or more watches that Craig bought him.
Bonnie says Craig kept his career very secretive from her and the family.
He told us that he was very, very rich and that he was associated with like 7 different corporations, but we couldn't know anything.
Bonnie says Craig and Jimmy's behavior sent more red flags up in Tammy's mind.
Jimmy would jump into Craig's arms out on my front porch, and they would nuzzle each other, and it's like, this isn't good.
There was a period of time when Tammy forbid her son to see Craig.
And what was Jimmy's reaction to that?
I think hurtful.
Bonnie tells us the family confronted Craig, saying they were done with what they called the touchy-feely relationship he had with Jimmy.
But he looked at Jimmy and told him not to worry about it. And then, before you know it, the trip is planned for us.
Bonnie says the cruise was Craig's gift to Deb Graff for losing 100 pounds. Bonnie, Tammy, and Jimmy were also invited. Despite the questions Tammy had about Craig's relationship with Jimmy, Bonnie says Tammy told her,
I don't care if Craig pays for it or not. It's a trip. We'll go.
Bonnie and investigators say Craig Morgan footed the bill for everyone on the cruise, but he did not go himself. Bonnie says once on board the ship, there is a surprise couple who joined the group, Craig Morgan's sister Rebecca and Rebecca's ex-boyfriend Robbie Pantoja. Bonnie and investigators say there were 3 rooms for the 6 people and that Deb gave the nicest room to Tammy and Jimmy, saying
Tammy and Jimmy would enjoy the suite more, so they were provided the suite, which, of course, included a balcony out over the water.
Of the 3 rooms, it was the only room with a balcony. Bonnie says during the cruise, everyone was having a good time, and Deb was being very generous.
Then she told Tam, during the trip, if you want to drink, you could drink as much as you want, because I'll pay for it.
Bonnie says the night Tammy disappeared, Bonnie wasn't drinking. In fact, she tells us she never drinks, but everyone else was drinking, including Jimmy. Bonnie says Tammy wasn't feeling well, and everyone went back to Tammy's suite. Bonnie tells us Tammy was still awake, and at one point, Bonnie asked Jimmy for a glass of water.
Jimmy went into the bathroom while Robbie took me out on deck and filled my glass of water. And then come back, and that's the last I remember.
She has no memory of the gathering after she consumed the water, and she suspects highly that she was drugged.
Investigators say they believe Bonnie's story. After Tammy never showed up again, authorities gathered statements from everyone, but investigators and Bonnie say Jimmy showed no emotion. Was he crying at this point?
Never cried. Never.
And this was a kid who
just lost his mom.
Bonnie says another bizarre sight happened on the plane ride home. She says she was sitting across the aisle from Jimmy, who was sitting with Deb Graff. Bonnie tells us Deb and Jimmy were chit-chatting, even laughing on the way home. But Bonnie says that wasn't the only weird behavior by Deb.
She was busy letting Jimmy fondle her.
By fondling, you mean just kind of nuzzling up against her and holding her, or like touching her in a sexual kind of way?
He was literally grabbing her breasts.
Once back in Toledo, the family noticed Tammy and Jimmy's apartment had been broken into while they were away on the cruise. News 11 cameras were there as police investigated. Officers tell us there were no signs of forced entry, and only a computer hard drive and jewelry that Craig Morgan gave to Tammy were missing. None of the other valuables in the apartment were touched, but these two...
Whoever broke in seemed selective in what they took.
Investigators have interviewed everyone, even taking Jimmy out of Whitmer High School to talk to him. News 11 cameras were there. At this point, they have not been able to advance this case, but feel strongly they are close.
Somebody to come forward and give us that little piece that we can put this whole puzzle together.
Jimmy lives with his paternal grandfather in Toledo. News 11 asked Jimmy for an interview. He told us he would think about it, but his grandfather eventually called us back saying Jimmy did not want to talk to us. Craig Morgan's attorney says Craig has no comment on the case. Rebecca Morgan and Robbie Pantoja say they have no comment. And Deb Graff, Bonnie's sister, forcefully declined to talk to us. And remember, Tammy is Jimmy's mother and Deb's niece, but no comments from anyone. Investigators say all of them are persons of interest in this case. Investigators tell us the FBI did polygraphs on Robbie, Rebecca, and Bonnie, but the results came back inconclusive. Investigators also tell us Deb Graff refused a polygraph.
If there were one or more people involved with this, they would all be charged in a similar fashion, even if they didn't play, let's say, an active role in her homicide.
Bonnie says Tammy deserves justice and that she's convinced Jimmy, Rebecca, Robbie, and Deb had a hand in her disappearance.
I think the four of them threw her over.
Investigators say Jimmy told them the night Tammy went missing, Tammy passed out briefly, woke up, and then she said she was going out to find a man, and that Jimmy went to fall asleep in Robbie and Rebecca's room. However, the investigation reflects Jimmy returned to Tammy's room with Robbie at least once that same night. If you know anything about Tammy's disappearance, contact your local police. I'm Jonathan Walsh, News 11.
Whoa.
What a story, what a case.
What a complicated, web of...
Well, Jonathan will stay on it, and we'll keep you updated on any movement in that case. Sounds like they just need a break on that one.